So hi guys, welcome to the Good Ballet Juju podcast. I'm Min and I'm here with a former Pacific Northwest Ballet dancer turned skincare guru, Jordan Samuels, who I'm very excited to interview and talk about skincare for dancers. So hi Jordan, how are you doing all the way in Seattle?
Hi, Min. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, not at all. I think before we start, I'd like actually for you to share a bit of your story as to how you went from ballet dancer to a skincare expert, because I think that's pretty interesting.
It sounds, I think, very strange in the beginning when people hear it, but for me, it was completely seamless.
Mm-hmm.
So a typical story, I guess you could say, as a dancer, I have been dancing since I was about 9, 10 years old.
Right.
And then moved away from home at 15, studied at School of American Ballet, and then got my contract with Pacific Northwest Ballet when I was 18 and moved to Seattle. That was in 1999, and danced there professionally for 11 years. And growing up, I always had a love of beauty, fragrance, like my mom's fragrance, my dad's cologne, body lotions, hair care. When I have hair, I obviously don't have hair now. I had a bunch of curly hair. So I was always into maintenance and upkeep of that. And same with skincare. The thing with skincare was I didn't have issues. Luckily, I didn't grow up having acne or breakouts. So there really wasn't a reason for me to be super diligent growing up to take care of my skin. But I remember it was truly like the first or second week of my slew of professional shows with Pacific Northwest Ballet where I was wearing stage makeup, for 6 shows a week and sweating, and my skin just went from good to awful.
Yeah.
And I had no tools in how to take care of it. I didn't know what products to use. I didn't know how to take off my makeup. I sort of didn't, looking back now, I realized when it happened, but at the time I was just like, oh, I guess I just have bad skin because I have to wear this makeup now and do all these shows. And so for about a year or two, I just dealt with like crappy skin and then started going and getting facials and learning more about skin and skincare. And I became super interested in it. Obviously, my love of all things beauty, and then realizing and figuring out my own skincare woes really led me down the path to getting into what I knew would be my next career. And I had 2 back-to-back injuries. I broke my right foot and then my left foot 2 years apart. So I had a lot of downtime. And during that time, I really was like, skincare is going to be it. When I retire, I'm going to get my esthetician's license, start working hands-on in skin, doing facials, and then hopefully come out with a brand. So in short, that's the dot connection from dancer to skincare brand.
And so now you have like you said, your own skincare brand called Jordan Samuel Skin. So maybe very briefly, can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes. So the brand is Jordan Samuel Skin. It initially started in 2013. So I retired in 2010 and the brand came out in 2013 and went through a few different iterations of the packaging and the branding. And sort of what people see now happened in about 2017. And it's a ballet inspired skincare brand that I truly took what I learned from ballerinas and people who had tackled makeup removal and using skincare while dancing and being active, because there is something to that. Obviously sweating day in and day out, but still wanting to take care of your skin. And it's grown. We're mainly direct to consumer, but we recently launched in the UK, EU with a retailer called Cult Beauty, and they ship worldwide. So we've really grown little by little, but it's going wonderful, and the success of the brand has been amazing and really well received.
It's I guess slow and steady, but it's really nice to see like your rise. I remember learning about you guys when you had like your cleansers and your products had like use ballet terms. I remember. I think you've rebranded it now, but I remember you had like the plie. Is it cleanser? And then like
it was plie. We actually had to, just because of a trademark situation, we had to change the name of plie to the after show cleanser. So same product, just a different name, but exactly.
And so what I really am excited to talk to you about now is obviously skincare, which is, it seems like a I mean, skincare may seem like a luxury or something, but at the same time, I think it's quite essential because, having good skin is something that, not having good skin can really affect people's self-confidence and things like that. And I think it's a nice part of self-care as well, especially now that, we're in lockdown, even when we're stressed out, to be able to like do things to like look after ourselves and feel good.
You could not have said more important words. It's so true. Skincare still for a lot of people is seen as this luxury or this sort of extra thing.
Yeah.
And in reality, it is. It's so important. It's our largest organ. It's our first line of defense. Not to get too scientific into it, but if you think about, the first thing we're doing with the virus going around is washing our hands. It's protecting our skin, removing things from our skin.
Yeah.
So it really is more than a luxury. And if you have a breakout or hyperpigmentation issues, or as we age, we see something we don't like, it does affect people's self-confidence. So really taking care of yourself and having that self-care approach to skincare is so much more than a luxury. It really is treating you and yourself.
Yeah. And, feel free to hit us with the science if you need to. I think, people don't realize that it's not just like a wishy-washy thing. There's actually like a lot, like with skincare products, I'm sure there's lots of research behind like the formulations and how everything works and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about skincare like for dancers in a little bit, but first I think I want to chat with you about taking care of your skin while in lockdown, because I know it's sort of a different thing where maybe people have been stressed out and they've been breaking out more, and there's anxiety and all kinds of things. So like what have you noticed are some of like the issues that are cropping up with like people's skin in lockdown? I mean, I know that I have a friend who had stress breakouts, but are there any other issues that you've been noticing?
I would say there's probably more than this, but in the majority, there's three main things I've heard or seen and have personally seen on myself. But breakouts, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sensitivities, inflammation, and dryness.
Right.
A few things being, so when we break out, and especially, we have, while we are on lockdown, the other thing too is there's a ton of stress and a ton of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And in our body, there's that stress hormone, which raises cortisol and produces, when cortisol is raised, it produces a thicker, stickier oil in our skin. Yeah. So the oil that should just come up and out of our pores and lubricate our skin and give us that natural glow can tend to stick onto dead cells, creating breakout.
Right.
We can also, when we get stressed, it can also break down the barrier function and the protective function of our skin, leading to sensitivities and inflammation. And same with dryness. Obviously, if the barrier is broken down, the skin's going to feel a little bit more dry, a little bit more dehydrated. So those are the three main things. On top of it too, I don't know about you, but my diet's not impeccable. But when we first went into lockdown, I thought it was going to maybe be for 2 weeks. So we sort of were taking it like a 2-week vacation, and we're maybe like having a few more drinks than we should have, or maybe, getting, dinners that were like not necessarily what we would usually get. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, this is going to go much longer than we thought. Yeah. So once we sort of got that in check, that has helped. But all those things in conjunction with stress and with being sort of a little bit more stagnant than usual, coming back to the dance and movement subject, is that helps the body and that helps skin, moving the blood, moving your lymphatic system, and that all comes out in great skin. And now, even though we're doing these at-home bars and these at-home workouts, they're not comparable to being in a huge studio and dancing or being at a gym. So people are really seeing the toll on their skin. And I've known very few people who have not seen that. Right. Everybody sort of had their version of a skin issue over the lockdown.
So how should we address, I mean, you've noticed 3 problems. Do we address them separately in terms of our skincare routine, or would you say that, or would you be able to give like general recommendations for like what we should be doing to take care of our skin? Like, how would you approach this?
So with those three things specifically, I would say for breakouts, you're going to want to look at lightly exfoliating products. You don't need to go crazy with exfoliation because that can create its own issue. Yep. But maybe a cleanser with an exfoliating acid, an alpha hydroxy acid or a beta hydroxy acid, or even a mask, a lightly exfoliating mask. And then light products as well. It doesn't have to be oil-free, but just light layers. Yep. With sensitivity, you're going to want to look for fragrance-free, essential oil-free, nothing irritating, nothing inflammatory. No, really, With sensitivities, I would stay away from acids and vitamin A and retinol products until the skin sort of settles a bit, because you'll just bring up more inflammation and more sensitivity. And dryness, you're going to want super gentle cleansing, hydrating, nourishing products, shea butter, plant oils, and some good occlusive ingredients to help keep the water in the skin. And really for all three of them, making sure we're not doing and not putting our face in super hot water. I know that especially as dancers, we love to take a super hot shower after a performance or after, I mean, I get it. I get it.
Muscles, right? Yeah.
Yes. But it's not great for the face, and it's not great for the skin, and it can dilate the blood vessels, creating redness and sensitivity and more inflammation. So that's not good for any of those things I mentioned.
Right.
So those are 3 or 4 really easy tips and tricks for those skin types and skin conditions.
So when you say things like gentle cleansers, what are we looking at? Are we looking at things that are like non-foaming or pH neutral, or what sort of things should we be looking at?
You know your skincare.
I did
I'm
my
so
research.
impressed. I'm really so impressed. So yes, absolutely. Non-foaming for sure, which non-foaming doesn't necessarily mean oil-based. Oil-based cleansers are great and serve a purpose, but a non-foaming cleanser can look and feel, in terms of just looking at it, exactly like a foaming cleanser. It's just when you start to add water to it, it becomes more of a slippery gel instead of a harsh foaming cleanser. And absolutely, I love to have cleansers between about a 4 to high 5 pH. Skin naturally is between 4.5 and 5.5 pH. So that's why with the cleanser, we want to sort of stay in that range. Going a little bit above 5.5 is okay, and going a little bit below 4.5 is okay. But exactly, that's exactly what you need for a gentle cleanser.
Okay. And you have cleansers too. So what are the pH ranges of your cleansers? I mean, I'm asking you off the top of your head, but
yes, yeah. So 2 of our cleansers, the after show cleansers, are both oil-based cleansers. So with oil-based cleansers, pH is usually not measured, just because they're considered balanced as is. The matinee gel cleanser is a water-based cleanser. That one is 5.3.
Right.
So it's right in that range of the 4.5 to 5.5.
So like you said, when we have breakout skin, like, when you said it was breaking out, which one of these cleansers would you recommend versus if we're having
the matinee? So the matinee gel cleanser, absolutely, for breakouts. It has salicylic acid, it's water soluble, it's non-foaming. So it's going to really clear out the pores, but not strip the skin. And then for sensitive skin, you could use the after show cleanser for sensitive skin, and also for dry skin as well. But that's an oil-based jelly cleanser. It's non-foaming, it's pH balanced, but there's no fragrance, no essential oils, no acids. So yeah, between those two, you sort of have the basis covered of the issues that we just talked about.
There's so many things I want to ask you about with like exfoliation and everything, but
absolutely.
But let's move into like skincare for dancers first, because I feel like some of these things will overlap, and then I can start like getting in and asking you all those juicy questions I really want to ask you. So like you said, once we move out of lockdown, or once dancers get back into the studio, I think this is something that's a concern, which I always feel like it's separated into 2 parts, which is like for female dancers, a lot of them who are wearing makeup when they go for class and rehearsals, and then there's the other side where you are on stage and you're wearing a full face of makeup, which I imagine is like thicker and heavier. So what would you recommend, say, for dancers who feel like they have to wear makeup every day to class and wear foundation and concealers because while you're sweating and exercising for every day? How should we be taking care of our skin in that situation?
So for me, and this is going to be more for the everyday class and rehearsal makeup.
Yeah, like an everyday routine.
Yeah. I prefer, and I know not everybody does, so this is going to be personal preference, but in terms of skin and skin health, I do find that mineral powders and mineral makeup it really stays put, but to me it's more, for lack of a better term, breathable. And that's not really what I mean, but it just wears better. It sits better on the skin. It feels a little bit less occlusive. It can work a little bit better with your skin. I find people who use mineral makeups while they're working out tend to have less skin issues than heavier, creamier, oilier foundations and shadows or blushes or things like that. So that would be the first part, is definitely to be doing that. 2 would be to cleanse your skin as soon as you get home. Even if it's 5 p.m. at night, have that be your evening routine. A lot of people get fixated on their evening routine needing to be at 10 p.m. before they go to bed. You can do it as soon as you get home. If you're not going to go out for the rest of the evening, and you're just going to be winding down for the night, get the sweat off, get the extra makeup off, do your routine then. Also, you won't be as tired, so the chances of you actually getting your routine in will be better, because sleeping in makeup is no-no, and sleeping in makeup that's mixed with sweat is definitely a no-no. But that's what I would say for every day is look for more mineral makeup bases and those powders. And there really are so many ranges now and so many brands available all over the world. And then cleanse as soon as you get home. You don't have to do it at the studio, but just do it as soon as you get home.
So what about things like, instead of like full foundation, what about things like BB creams or CC creams or tinted moisturizers? Are those better, or should we still be sticking to mineral powders as like?
No, so actually maybe not necessarily. I mean, those all actually would be okay, and they wear lovely. Tinted moisturizers tend to be, well, no, that's generalizing. For the most part, if they do wear lighter, those tinted moisturizers, BB creams, and even CC creams as compared to a straight up foundation. So those would absolutely be an okay situation. There are a lot of great tinted moisturizers. Laura Mercier, I believe, makes a great tinted moisturizer, which has a mineral only sunscreen in there, and wears really well on the skin. Obviously, if you're going to be indoors all day and you're not by windows, and sweating, you certainly don't need to worry about sunscreen. So sort of weigh the pros and cons with that one. But for instance, at P&B, I would actually wear sunscreen because I would walk to work outside, and then there's huge windows there. So like if you were in the studio, chances are you're probably getting sun. But no, those are all great. Probably though, of the three, I would lean more towards the tinted moisturizer. In a way, BB and CC creams are really glorified tinted moisturizers when you get down to it. But tinted moisturizers tend to wear a little bit lighter on the skin and a little bit more wearable, I think, for somebody working out.
What about something like a non-comedogenic foundation? Like, what do you feel about that?
So that term is actually not regulated. And while it means well, a lot of things are formulation dependent. So, for instance, there might be an ingredient that is considered comedogenic, but if it's used in a 0.5% ratio, blended with X, Y, and Z in a formula, it might not be comedogenic in the finalized formula. And so it's not necessarily something that you can generally say like it is comedogenic or non-comedogenic. However, if it feels heavy to you, it's heavy. Like that is something that's like usually there's no way around it. Like if it feels heavy and sticky and occlusive to you, it's heavy and sticky and occlusive. It might not break you out, but it's probably not needed for you to wear that during rehearsal.
And just so very quickly, so we all understand, like, what is it about makeup that breaks us out? I know it's like an occlusive, so it traps sweat. And am I going in the correct direction with that?
Yeah, well, the thing with breakouts too, and what I'm finding more as I go along in the skincare industry, is really truly everybody can break out from everything, and that's what's crazy. So many people will write me and say like, this product is making me break out, what is it? And if it's one of my products, I can't say. And if it's not one of my products, I certainly can't say. But if you have a list of ingredients that's 20 ingredients long, it could literally be anything from aloe and glycerin to a preservative to anything. But in makeup, a lot of times people are very reactive to SPFs. So if SPF is, and this is not to deter anybody, SPF is the most important step in your skincare routine, so don't skip it. But SPFs tend to, whether chemical or physical SPFs, tend to exacerbate breakouts. So in makeup, a lot of makeups have SPF. So that's starting there. Some makeups contain fragrance that can also be irritating and causing breakouts. And then makeup is meant to sit there and stay there. It is occlusive, and it is, I mean, most, not all, but if you're trying to wear makeup and have it stay there, it is meant to be occlusive and it's meant to stay there. And so then, if you're starting to combine that with a little bit of heat and a little bit of sweat,
or a lot of sweat in case of that,
or a lot, exactly, And when your skin warms up, the skin softens and it's able to absorb things. And then your skin's not absorbing like on a deep level where it gets in anything crazy, like these rumors you hear about it getting into your bloodstream or something, but it's able to absorb into like breakout, have like create congestion and create breakouts in the skin. Yeah. So yeah, it's really not a great, it's not a great thing.
Just quickly, because you did mention SPF, and I'm a big fan of the SPF 50. So, but maybe could you just quickly explain to people why SPF is important? Because, for dancers, a lot of them think, I'm indoors all day. Do I need to wear SPF?
Yeah. So SPF is so everybody, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. First of all, SPF is like your insurance policy, your protection for your skin. Right. It's not going to be something that you see a result from, but it's going to be, if you've ever met somebody, who is 30 years, 40 years older than you, and you're like, oh my God, she or he has such beautiful skin. 9 times out of 10, they will say, I wore SPF every single day of my life. Right. That's usually the common denominator. Sun creates inflammation, it breaks down collagen, it creates loss of volume, it creates dehydration, it breaks down the barrier, it creates redness and irritation and inflammation. I mean, it's endless. Right. It just creates this inflammatory cascade, the sun. And so we need that protection. If for some reason, while I'm hardcore about SPF, I'm not the strongest stickler. So like if for some reason you were truly going to be in a place that had no windows and you were maybe going to be outside for 2 or 3 minutes, I would say you can probably skip it. Like I'm not that like hardcore about it, though. If you doing a routine every day is what helps you wear it, then just put it on, because if you think of it like your daily moisturizer, then just put it on. Right. But yeah, most of the things that we see as we age are a result of sun and lack of sunscreen. Right. And so many people want to use these beautiful products with acids and retinols and vitamin A and vitamin C and peptides, and they're all great. Yeah. But they're not going to be able to work their best if your sunscreen's not in check, because a lot of those ingredients can make the skin more sun sensitive. Then you're going outside, you're creating pigmentation for yourself, inflammation for yourself, loss of volume. I mean, it just goes on and on. So I always recommend to people, like, don't worry about your vitamin A or your alpha hydroxy acid products if you don't have your SPF dialed in. Right. And yeah, no, it's really so important.
And also talking about, like you said, with makeup, like removing makeup and cleansing, what's the proper way to cleanse? I mean, a lot of people advocates of like the double cleanse. I know some people use like micellar water and some people use makeup wipes, which I have feelings about, but for you,
you've done your research, or you just know. It's amazing. I love it.
For you, what's the best way, like effective way of removing your makeup, like when you come back from a day of class or rehearsals, and second, like what's the skincare regime that you should be following up with it after that?
So first, I'm not a fan of wipes at all. So wipes are awful for the environment, obviously. Yes. And they don't work. They just don't work. It makes the surface look clean. So if you are somebody that for some reason maybe needs to get out of the theater really quick and you just wipe it off just to make it look like you don't have any makeup on and you need to go somewhere, fine. Yeah. I'm still not a fan because of the environmental factor. Yeah. But then you have to follow it up with a great double cleanse afterwards. So like the makeup wipe is more just a Band-Aid to get you out for whatever reason. I see no reason or like way for the makeup wipe to be a thing.
No, it's single use and it just kind of moves stuff.
Yeah, no, it's wasteful and it doesn't. Yes, exactly. So I'm going to go off on a small, quick tangent, but please, how I created my first cleanser, Plie, which is now called the After Show Cleanser. I had a ballerina from P&B, and it was truly like the day after the run of Nutcracker. Right. And I was already retired doing facials, and I did not have my products yet. And she came in for a facial. I did a cleanse with another brand's cleanser, double cleanse. And then I started to do ultrasonic exfoliation, which looks like this little dull spatula. It vibrates 28,000 times per second, and it just exfoliates the top layer of the skin. But it also pushes dirt, oil, and grime out. Usually what you wipe away from that little spatula should be the clear liquid you applied. Right. It just should look like liquid. Right. And what was coming out of her pores was makeup. And so I had double cleansed her, but I asked her how she removed her makeup previously, and all of Nutcracker was makeup wipes. So that makeup was still caked in the skin. And that's when I knew I had to create a really effective oil-based cleanser, knowing that oil will help to break down the makeup. and be the first part of a really great double cleanse.
Right.
So that was how I created after show treatment cleanser. And so for me, when you're removing your makeup, whether it's a performance or whether it's just a regular work day and you're wearing makeup, because you have that makeup on, or even if you don't, even if it's just SPF and you've been sweating that much, one of the best things for your skin is a true double cleanse. You don't always have to do it. If it's a day where you've had no makeup on, you weren't really sweating, maybe you don't have SPF on, you don't need to do it. You certainly don't need to do it. But those other times that we're talking about in the studio or in the theater, absolutely double cleanse. In general, you're going to look more for an oil-based cleanser, a balm, an oil-based cleanser, or a gel to oil cleanser, which is what the after show treatment cleanser is.
Yeah.
You'll use that with dry hands and dry face. And so it just sort of melts down everything. Usually remove it with a warm, wet washcloth. Some you can rinse, but most people, you want to get that extra step of having the washcloth to remove everything.
So this is like the first cleanse, using the balm, the oil to gel cleanser, like you said. Like
Yep.
Something that, and because that removes makeup. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. It's very effective. It melts it down. It just melts down the SPF. It melts down the oils and the makeup. And then you lift it off with a washcloth. And then you would follow up with a second cleanse, usually a milk, cream, or non-foaming gel cleanser.
Right.
So more of a water-soluble cleanser. The milk and creams are more for the drier, sensitive skin type. The gels are more for the normal combination oily skin types.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of, in essence, a classic double cleanse.
Yeah.
Now, if you are somebody who's extremely dry, you could use that gel to oil, balm, oil cleanser twice.
Right.
Or if you're somebody who's oily acne prone, you can use that milk cleanser first and then the gel cleanser second, or the gel cleanser twice, back to back. So there doesn't have to be this hard and fast rule that it has to be an oil cleanser and it has to be. That mainly depends on your skin type. However, if you are wearing heavy stage makeup, you really need something like an oil-based cleanser to break it all down.
Right. And then for everyday like classroom rehearsals, what product should we be following that up with after we've like cleansed and got rid of all the makeup and the grime and the sweat off?
Yeah, so if you're doing that at the end of the day, you would want to do a really lovely serum, something like in our brand we have Hydrate Facial Serum, which is our #1 selling product. It's a hyaluronic acid based product with aloe vera and glycerin. I shouldn't actually say hyaluronic acid based. It's a humectant based product. It happens to have hyaluronic acid, but aloe and glycerin and cucumber and tamarind, and it's lovely.
It's moisturizing.
Yes, yeah, and it actually is. It's considered like a moisture magnet. So then, if you put a cream on top, it pulls the cream down further and really helps to hydrate the skin. And so right there, actually, you could do a beautiful hydration, humectant-rich serum, and then a really light moisturizer on top. You could use a retinol-based product as it's nighttime, or an alpha. Like for instance, tonight I'm going to do my cleanse, and then I'm going to use an alpha hydroxy acid-based product. One that's not mine; it's one that I'm just trialing and I really love. And then I'll go in with a moisturizer on top. If it was during the day, you obviously wouldn't double cleanse in the morning. And not everybody actually has to cleanse in the morning, depending on your skin type and skin condition.
Oh, really?
But in the
That's
morning,
interesting.
Yeah, it's most people prefer to, but you really don't have to. And especially if you're in the dry, dehydrated like area, you really don't need to cleanse in the morning. Take a warm, wet washcloth and just give a nice wipe, and then apply your product. You'll be ready to go. But morning would be something lovely like a vitamin C serum or an antioxidant serum, and SPF to finish, if it is SPF moisturizer. If not, apply your moisturizer and then your SPF on top of that.
So I've also heard that like vitamin C can make SPF more efficacious. Is that true?
Ish. What you really have going for you with a combination of vitamin C, or really any antioxidant. So I'm somebody who's sensitive to vitamin C, so we created an antioxidant serum that has green tea and resveratrol and olive fruit and grapeseed and pomegranate, because they work not just as well, but they work similarly to vitamin C. But because they help like the free radical attack on your skin from just being out in a big city and pollution and sun, if you have that layered under your SPF, you are able to sort of have extra protection, not extra sun protection, but just extra environmental protection for your skin.
Right. And so now when we're talking about, so we've talked about like how to take care of your skin when you're doing classes and rehearsals, but what about like, say when you've, you know, like you've got Nutcracker and you're doing like full pancake makeup every day? Is there something we should be doing to like, dancers should be doing to like prep their skin beforehand with skincare? Is there anything they should be mindful of when they're putting on the makeup? And again, you know, this, is the routine when you're like, your nighttime routine, is that going to be different? So it's like 3 different questions, but
yeah. So actually, in terms of routine, I would keep that really consistent, but be really good about it. So be really good about that double cleanse when you get home, because you're going to want, even if, you know, if you're doing it at the theater, great. If not, and you're just happy to do wipes, still make sure you get home and you do that double cleanse once you get home.
Right.
And then at nighttime, pretty much the same. You might want to dial back the alpha hydroxy acids and the exfoliating products and the retinols, especially if you're going to be wearing makeup constantly or removing it constantly, which is always the issue, right? It's like you're removing it to put it back on a few hours later, and then removing it again to put it back on a few hours later. And so you don't want to overly sensitize the skin with those products. So you might want to dial that back. What I would actually add in that routine, which I know it's going to seem like it's more time consuming and it's another thing to add to the to-do list, but is masks. Really adding a mask into your routine, a hydration, nourishing mask. Or separately, if you're somebody that's oily and acne prone or congested, a purifying mask. But something that's going to work a little bit deeper, a little bit more efficient. And usually during Nutcracker, you really don't have time to go for facials. So masks are a great way to step it up and treat the skin once or twice a week. After you cleanse at night, put on like a layer of either a purifying mask or a really hydrating, nourishing mask. Maybe sit in your bathtub, let it sit for 20 minutes, get out, rinse it off, and then go about your routine. But that extra step is enough to really give a boost to the skin that's going through it with all of those makeup applications and makeup removals.
Do you have, talking masks, do you have any, like, I'm putting you on the spot, do you have any product recommendations? Because obviously I would prefer it, and I don't know how you feel, but to like avoid sheet masks because I feel like they're single use again. And sorry.
No, please go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, aren't sheet masks kind of like the same thing as like putting a serum on your face, but with a mask?
It's just something that I have still not wrapped my head around in the beauty industry. And I don't want to say never, but unless there's the most eco-friendly sheet mask material made ever that will just biodegrade in 20 seconds or something, Jordan Samuel's skin will probably never come out with a sheet mask because I just don't get it. I get the convenience of it and the sort of like less mess of it, but it's single use, it's wasteful, and usually is the beautiful serum usually, but it's a serum with gauze. So you can also make your own for a fraction of the cost if A, you want it to, but B, it's still single use. So I'm not a fan of it. So yes, when I'm referring to masks, I mean actually mask in a tube or a jar that you can, scoop out and apply, and you are going to have to use the washcloth to remove. It's not going to be nice and pretty if you're trying to do it on an airplane. But no, but masks I actually recommend. So offhand, because we don't have any true masks in our line, but one thing I do recommend is actually our after show sensitive cleanser, because it has no surfactants and it's super gentle. If you combine that with our hydrate facial serum, it turns into this creamy milk, and apply that, and that's actually one of the best masks I've ever tried. So you're combining 2 products that hopefully you would maybe have if you were using the regimen, a cleanser and a hydrating serum, but combining that to be a nourishing mask. For a purifying mask, I really love Eve Lome's Rescue Mask.
Right.
And then I also love this brand called, and I always mess up the name. So the brand is called Amoravica. It's a Hungarian-based brand.
Oh, the one that uses the thermal mud water thing. Yeah.
And they have, I think, 2 or 3 masks, but it's the original one. I think it's like their deep cleansing mud mask. It's a very
the clay one,
basic name.
Yeah.
But as far as purifying mask goes, it's actually one of my favorites I've tried. So Eve Lome and the Amoravica for purifying, and then honestly the Jordan Samuel After Show cleanser with the hydrate serum as a hydrating nourishing mask. Those would be my favorite masks on the market.
And just because dancers, like, what's like a budget mask that maybe it's not as effective, but something that would still be something that dancers could, if you're on a budget, what could you invest in?
Honestly, you could go really good, and I'm not a big fan of DIY masks, but you could do something like, you can get glycerin at the store, you can get aloe vera at the store. They're both lovely humectants. Mixing them together, applying that. You could add, some people like using yogurt
Right.
Yogurt and honey, something as simple as that. You don't have to get fancier than that. Yogurt has a little bit of lactose in it. It's hydrating and cooling, and honey is a natural humectant as well. So yeah, there's really great things. Just the one thing I would stress with DIY is keep it simple, because so many people start adding lemon juice and cinnamon and things that would just completely destroy your skin.
Like
So
apple cider vinegar. No.
yeah, just keep it really simple. Like if we're going to do the DIY, like yogurt and honey is going to be excellent for the skin, and super budget friendly, but, or like aloe and glycerin,
Yeah.
and even maybe mixing a few drops of oils in.
Mm.
You can mix a few drops of oils into the yogurt mask as well.
So what kind
with
of
honey.
oils would you suggest?
I would, if you can get something like a jojoba oil,
Right.
which is a really, really light oil, that would be great. If you're on the drier side, something like a sweet almond oil, and you're not allergic to nuts, sweet almond oil is beautiful and really easy to find. And
Right.
actually, it's become it's one of my favorite oils, but it's become less trendy because all these new oils, marula oil and argan oil and cranberry seed oil,
And the CBD oil thing as well.
and CBD and
Mm,
prickly pear seed oil, which are all great. But because of it, all these sort of classic oils have fallen out of trend when there shouldn't be a trend with skin and skin products. But sweet almond oil, if you have dry skin, it's beautiful and lovely and one of my favorites. So yeah, or rosehip oil, that's becoming more prominent. You can find that a little bit easier. That's a beautiful oil, especially for more combination oily skin as well.
Right. Some people are afraid that, say, putting, like, especially if they have oily skin, they're afraid that putting oils on their skin will, break them out more and stuff. So, could you, clarify on that issue for people who are wondering?
Yeah, a lot of people talk about, which I don't find really true, where like oil balances oil, and if you don't have oil, your skin overproduces more oil. That's not really true. But most people, I will say, not we, but most people, we do a really good job of, and I think it's just in our DNA or something, that like we have to remove and strip, which is why I always say like non-foaming cleansers. And so we do this really good job of removing everything, and then we just have to like replenish it. And that's why a lot of people find healing with oils, because they probably have overdone something. And oils are great emollient for the skin. Some oils can bridge the gap between emollients and occlusives, so it can help with water loss and keep the water in the skin. But the thing with oils is that there's probably one oil out there that somebody tried once and it broke them out. And oils all have different weights and different moisturizing abilities and capabilities and vitamins and antioxidants. So if somebody were to use, say, a grapeseed oil, it's super, super lightweight. It's actually great for oily skin, and even great for some acne-prone skins. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, olive oil is extremely nourishing. Or castor oil or wheat germ oil, they're extremely nourishing and extremely heavy. And if somebody with an oily or acne-prone skin put that on, they might break out and they might feel oily and greasy. So oil's been lumped together, but there's there's hundreds, probably thousands of different types of oil with different vitamins and antioxidants and weights and levels of moisturizing and fatty acid content. So it's important to do your research and to look at which ones are most beneficial for your skin type. But no, I find that actually very few people cannot use oils. Most people can use oils. It's just about finding the right one for your skin type.
And then coming back to stage makeup, is there anything that if you're, getting ready to, put all that stuff on for a show, is there anything we should be doing to like prep our skin beforehand and then when we're wearing the makeup, is there anything we should be mindful of to like, I'm not sure if there is anything, but anything we can be mindful of to make sure that, we're not really clogging up our skin too much?
So something I started to only understand and do towards the very end of my career was prepping my skin. So instead of just cleansing your face and putting makeup on, priming it with a great, like maybe something like our Hydrate Serum, our performance cream. Of course, it's called the performance cream. But it's a really lightweight moisturizer that wears really well on the skin. It doesn't pill. It doesn't ball up. So makeup sits really well on it. So you want to have your canvas moisturized and nourished to allow the makeup to sit there. You'll probably find that your makeup works for you better. It goes further. You need to use less of it to get full coverage. So that would be the prepping step. In terms of makeup, no. I would say there's not really, there's not much. I mean, you sort of, have to wear it and then sweat in it. So yeah, exactly.
Just make sure you remove.
Make sure that really is the most important, actually, is make sure you remove and make sure you remove properly.
And preferably if you can as soon as possible after the show.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you were talking about say, using acids and retinol and serums and stuff. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is because there are also a lot of young dancers who've had to, like if you're going for YGP or a competition or anything, put on lots of makeup and stuff. But at the same time, I know they want to take care of their skin. But is it when you're like 12 or 13? That's too young, isn't it, to start exfoliating and doing retinol?
Yes, unless for some reason you were under the care of a dermatologist and had breakout prone skin, acne prone skin, and they put you on a prescription strength retin-A for breakouts, then there's no reason to use an over-the-counter retinol at that age, or even alpha hydroxy acid. Maybe you have a little bit of a salicylic acid in your cleanser, because which many do. Many products marketed for sort of teenage skin or skin that's going through hormonal changes will have something like a benzoyl peroxide or salicylic acid. But in terms of a separate serum step or alpha hydroxy acid step or retinol step, no, they can cleanse and moisturize and have lovely young skin.
They already have beautiful skin anyway.
Exactly.
It's the rest of us who need to like try and keep that.
Right.
So let's talk a bit about exfoliation first, because there are so many, I guess people have so many opinions on it. But first of all, like, why is it important to exfoliate? And second of all, like, what are the proper ways to exfoliate? Because I mean, we talked about acids, which I'm not sure how many people are familiar with, because people also want to do things like peel off masks and like scrubs and things which can be harsher. So yeah, maybe first, like, why is exfoliation important? And second, like, what's the proper way to go about it? The safest way for your skin.
So exfoliation's amazing because you basically it's one of the few things, if not only thing, where you get almost an immediate result.
Right.
Because it'll help brighten the skin. It won't give crazy results in terms of like lightening hyperpigmentation or anti-aging, but you're removing that dead cell. So it gives the skin a glow, a vibrancy. The skin itself is naturally turning itself over. We use the average of every 28 days. There's fluctuations on that, but that starts to slow down as we age.
Yep.
And by skin cell turnover, that means the fresh young baby cells coming to the surface, which is what keeps the skin looking vibrant and healthy. So we would love it to be 5 days or 10 days, because that's when you're seeing really super healthy, vibrant skin. But it's 28 days, and that slows down as we age. Right. To even somewhere probably in the 50, 60-day range as we get further along, as we mature. So exfoliation is removing that top dead layer, which can give the skin a dull appearance, a gray appearance, can clog pores because it's just sitting there. It brings the fresh, new, healthy cell to the surface. It helps to even skin tone. It will help products to absorb in better, because if you have that dry, dead cell buildup, nothing's really going to penetrate through. I mean, it can, but you'll get more bang for your buck if you just are hydrating and nourishing the fresh, healthy cells. And separately, if you're using leave-on exfoliation products and alpha hydroxy acid products, when we're probably like 25 and up, they help to stimulate fibroblast cells, which are the cells that produce collagen and elastin, which creates that healthy, strong, thicker, firmer skin, which is what we all want. It keeps the volume there. It keeps wrinkles and lines at bay. So it does a lot of things. It makes the skin look amazing, but it's a really powerful active ingredient. Exfoliation's super important. There's many different ways. So you can do physical exfoliation, which is a scrub. And I find that very few people can use a scrub. Somebody who's like a true oily skin with no signs of dehydration or surface dryness, and that doesn't also have breakouts and has no signs of sensitivities, they can use a scrub. And that's a very small percent of the population. If you're somebody that does like to use a scrub once in a while, there's no harm in it, but just make sure you look for something like a silica bead or a jojoba bead, because they're rounder, they're not going to scratch the skin, they're gentler on the skin, they're better for the environment. But what I find more effective in exfoliation are your enzymes, your fruit enzymes, your alpha hydroxy acids, your beta hydroxy acids, and now this other sort of grouping called polyhydroxy acids. And when we talk about acids, it's, a very low percentage of an acid that can help to dissolve the bond between the dry, dead cell, helping it to slough off naturally, bringing the fresh new cell to the surface. In alpha hydroxy acids, there's many different acids and they each have a different molecular weight. So something like a glycolic acid is going to go deeper. You might get a more prominent result, but there's also a higher chance of irritation and inflammation. And for me, that's an acid that I just can't use. My skin doesn't tolerate it well. And then skipping ahead to something like mandelic acid, which is from almonds, which is the most gentle. I shouldn't say most gentle. It's one of the most gentle alpha hydroxy acids and one of the largest molecular weights. So it's much better option for the skin. Something like fruit enzymes, they help remove the dry dead layer, but they stop there. They don't go any further than that. So if you're really sensitive, you might want to look for something like a fruit enzyme. And then something like salicylic acid falls under the beta hydroxy acid category. And the difference there is that beta hydroxy acids, mainly and only salicylic acid, is oil soluble. Right. So that's great for acne prone or oily skin because it can get inside the pore lining and clear out the pore of dry dead surface cells and work beyond just the surface like the alpha hydroxy acids.
And then, yeah, sorry, you were saying?
No, I was just going to say, so that's sort of a short breakdown of acids, and you can get them in terms of some can be in your cleansers, some can be in a toning step, some can be in serums, some can be in moisturizers. And it gets tricky because, again, they all have different molecular weights. They all sort of do something slightly different, work on different levels of the skin, and then they can all be in different percentages in products, and they can all be in different types of products. So it just depends on what you're getting to sort of what it's really doing.
Right. And then, you mentioned using cleansers with, say, salicylic acid in it. How effective is that? Because, it's maybe on your face for like maybe 10 seconds to 30 seconds. So does it actually do anything?
So it's effective-ish. It's not as non-effective as it can be led to believe. Right. But if you're looking for a really great exfoliation, you're not going to want to get it just from your cleanser. So a lot of people with super, super sensitive skin or who are just new, sort of like we were talking about, teenagers who are new to skincare and wanting to get an exfoliation in there, but don't really need a serum step or a moisturizer step, having an acid in the cleanser could be helpful. Right. Because it's not on the skin as long. It is going to help to lightly remove some dead cells. So again, great for younger teenagers and great for somebody who's super, super sensitive, or great for somebody who uses a moderate exfoliation 1 or 2 times per week and wants to bump up their exfoliation on top of that. Right. Then they might also look to incorporate that. So it's effective, but it's not the end all be all, and it's not going to give you the results or the fibroblast cell stimulation that I talked about if it's being rinsed off the skin. Right.
And what are some products that we should avoid using in conjunction with like an acid? I would imagine that using an acid for retinol would be too strong.
So, exactly. It gets really tricky because, the thing is, for a while there was, and this is getting to a little bit of the myth busting, but that certain ingredients couldn't be used together. And some of that's true, but some of that is not true. Right. And acids and retinols can absolutely be used together, but they don't need to be. And a lot of times they can cause inflammation and irritation. For me, I cannot do an acid followed by a retinol. I cannot. I've tried it and I cannot do it.
You tried it. You're a braver person than me.
Yeah. I like to try a lot of stuff on myself, so I know what's going on. So with acids, what you're going to want to do, what I find is if you're new to acids or you're new to active ingredients, start on your alpha hydroxy acid or enzyme or beta hydroxy acid and let that go for a few weeks if you're on a new skincare journey where then you want to start adding in a retinol or a vitamin C, because you need your skin to acclimate to the product. You need to see how sensitive or sensitized your skin becomes. I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything you need to avoid, but the one thing I would say is that you need to be really diligent with paying attention to your skin and knowing that less is more, because with exfoliants, it's one of those things that because it produces such a great result, almost out of the gate, people think if a little's good, a lot is better. And that's not the case, because you can end up I've seen people who their barrier is completely broken down.
Skin barrier. It's like,
sort of having like a really great thought process of this acid works well and I can do X, and they just do too much. And then it's much longer to get back to building that barrier back up before they can re-enter using acids or retinols or vitamin C again. So slow and steady, like we talked about earlier with the business, but also with skincare, is how it should be as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the hard thing, isn't it, of having patience, because like say if you are having a breakout and then you realize this thing works, you just kind of want to go scorched earth on it, on your skin, because you're
Yes.
like, I want to get rid of it as soon as
Yep.
possible. And I think
Yeah.
especially with like something like breakouts or something, people just like want to put everything in there. It can be very harsh products on the market.
Yep. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so I want to go into some like asking your opinions about certain like common skincare conceptions and things like and ideas and things. But first, I also do want to ask you, because you are a cruelty-free brand, and I'm a ethical dancewear brand. Like, as you know, and I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what things can we be doing to make sure that our skincare routines are more eco-friendly, it's animal friendly or planet friendly, and of course people friendly as well.
So for me, the biggest thing is, it's my philosophy, but it's also one of the biggest steps you can take for your skincare, is being really purposeful with your skincare. People purchase too many skincare products,
Right.
and they don't have products that sort of work for them in a multifunctional capacity. So in our brand, for instance, our after show cleanser can be a makeup remover, it can be a skin cleanser, and it can be a mask.
Right.
So you can have 3 products in one. And that to me is the cornerstone of creating a really eco-friendly, ethical product.
Right.
To eliminate excess packaging. We don't have boxes on any of our products. I think some people would love that. Yes, it creates a beautiful like feeling
experience,
but it goes in the trash. I understand that, but I just think that we need to sort of look past that. Some products do need boxes. I'm looking at this candle right here. If it probably didn't come in a box, shipping, it would have broken. Like, so I get that some things need it.
Like some
Skincare doesn't.
some packaging is necessary. Yes.
But minimize packaging. But to me, less but better, less is more. Be really, really defined with, I see a lot of people online say, I just purchased this product. Where does it go in my routine? And I always say, like, know what you're purchasing. If you're purchasing blindly, that's just not great. But each product in your regimen should have a purpose. And if you don't know that purpose, you probably don't need the product. So less consumerism, less consumption, less but better, and look for multifunctional products, to me is like the cornerstone of a really great, truly eco-friendly, eco-conscious skincare routine.
And I think we almost have the same philosophy with this, which is that, for me, it's also offering like quality product that will last you. So, and then for you, it's, I guess, quality product that is effective, so that a customer, will feel confident purchasing it and have a good experience about it, but also maybe then be inclined to purchase less, because if you're getting something, say in skincare, that, the formula works for you and it's good for your skin, you're not going to want to spend like money buying like 10 other things to like try and, fix the problem, because when you can have like 1 or 2 really good focused products that can do the work.
Exactly. And and in my facial practice, which I'm obviously not doing since lockdown, but I've usually corrected most skin issues by reducing the amount of products that people use. They usually come in using 8 or 9 products. I get them down to 3 or 4 and consistency, and their skin also looks better. So it is a win-win. It goes, I mean, it's a win-win because it's great for the environment, it's great for the world, and it's great for your skin. So it does go above and beyond that whole situation. So
I think this would be actually a good segue into like the the segment of like asking your opinions on things, because like one of the questions that they want to ask you is like, what did you think about that whole like 9-step skincare routine that like the Koreans are doing and things like that?
Well, I first like to preface everything by saying, like, if it works for you and you love it, like, have at it. Life is too short, truly. So there's that. But for me, I'm just not about, you don't need it. In Korean skincare, they do have something lovely called the, like, I think it's like the 7-layer or like the 7-step. Anyway.
Oh, is it the thing where you pat your product into your face multiple times?
Yes, and you can use the same product multiple times. And I'm for that. Like, if you have one product, but you do a few layers to really create protective, hydrating layers, great. But somehow that got lost in the mix, and it turned into that you needed 7 different products to layer, and that's not at all what it should be. Or like, skin doesn't need that much to function properly. It knows inherently what to do. We just need to guide it along, protect it from the sun, use good, antioxidants and acids and retinols, and then we're so ahead of the game. But we've started adding too much in, and brands creating too many redundant steps. Like for us, we're going to come out with a bunch of products. And I always say, just because we come out with another product doesn't mean it's for your skin.
Yeah.
We might come out with a mask for an acne prone skin. If you're a customer with a dry, dehydrated skin, you don't need to purchase that.
Yeah.
You know, so don't get confused about, like, even if you support a brand, if we come out with a product that's not for you, I promise you don't need it. You're not missing anything. But businesses have started to bring out redundant products to make it seem like people need an extra step. So they have a cleanser and a toner and a mist and an essence. And right there between the toner, the mist, and the essence, you're basically using 3 redundant products.
Right.
Yes, they could have slightly different ingredients and capabilities, but it's a waste of time, money, and product.
I think it's a little bit also of like the age of maybe social media, when you see people posting about, or like internet, when you see people posting about new products and exciting things, and you're like, oh, I want to try that because I heard that's going to be good. You know,
Absolutely.
So you just start adding things into your regime. Could you like, it's like, what is the, like, is it a case where you could be like overwhelming your skin with too many products if you do that?
Always. I mean, I think there's very few people who can have a very extremely multi-step routine, right, without overwhelming their skin. My skin cannot take it. Like if I get to 4 steps in my routine, that's including a cleanser, like it's a lot. And my skin can sometimes like, and usually whenever my skin goes off, which I do have to test all of our products that we're going to come out with. And so sometimes my skin does go off because I'm adding a new step in, I'm adding new ingredients that I've maybe never tried and don't know if I'm sensitive to. And the first thing I do to reset my skin is to truly cut back to maybe a cleanser and a moisturizer. And within a week, my skin will get back to normal.
I mean,
super simple.
I do want to say on a record, because it's a Zoom conversation, that Jordan's skin looks on point.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So, you know, I think you can trust he knows what he says. And then in the second thing I want to ask you about is that whole like thing where people talking about like clean beauty with like natural and organic products. Like, what do you feel about that? I mean, you know, I'm just to slip in my personal opinion, I feel like there's no really such thing as natural because everything is a chemical in some way. But like, you know, some people say, oh, I use clean beauty and it works for me and stuff. Like, what is your opinion on that?
So first things first, if you love it and you find that that's like your wheelhouse, go for it. Right. I just feel like the thing that I have an issue with, so a lot of people put us in the clean beauty camp. Yeah. We are not. I mean, I don't declare us to be clean beauty because of certain things we use that's not considered clean to the clean community. Yeah. And we don't market ourselves that way and we don't formulate that way. But the thing that I have trouble with is that the clean community usually creates a lot of fear mongering based around certain ingredients, which are proven completely safe if you look at all the studies. Yeah. And 2, and this gets back to sort of the eco-conscious thing, and I'm really starting to like get into this, is that what I guess I would call, and I'm more into the term green beauty, because green beauty to me doesn't even mean natural. Green beauty to me means like caring for the earth. Yeah. And, you know, we're seeing like there's certain crops now that are being over-harvested and basically becoming, do you say extinct crops or extinct plants or flowers? But they're just so over-harvested that you actually like, they're ruining through getting essential oils for these natural based products when there's a safe synthetic version that, or even a plant stem cell, for instance. With a plant stem cell, they can take this little teeny thing from the flower and bring it to a lab and then have it man-made in the lab and produce the same way. And it's better for the environment and it actually is great for your skin. And so to me, that is the true like green chemistry movement, which is something that I would love to be a part of. Yeah. So no, the natural, organic, clean thing to me, other than if that's just what you feel you want to use, great. But there's no, in terms of safety, a lot of essential oils can highly irritate the skin. People can be highly allergic to them. Yeah. You can have huge contact dermatitis issues. I mean, most dermatologists are correcting issues because of natural skincare. Because of, not most issues, but issues from using natural skincare because of contact dermatitis and irritation and inflammation. Yeah, so no, I'm not anti, but it's not something that you should necessarily seek out. I'm just not. Yeah.
So it's like, if it works for you, but clean doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Basically.
Totally, exactly.
And then, you know, what about things like, you know, now people are using a lot of like lower budget products versus you know, and they say they're just as effective as, you know, higher end products. You know, like I know a lot of people use like the ordinary skincare. I've seen a lot of my
Mm-hmm.
dancer friends use that, and you know, I understand as well because you know, people do have limited budgets, and so
Mm-hmm.
they're like, if something is cheaper and it works, you know, why would I get that versus like the expensive one? So for you, what is the difference between using, say, like a budget product like the ordinary versus using like a higher end product?
Um, it can be, what it comes down to a lot for me is formula.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it is unfortunately packaging where, you know, there's a brand that's a luxury brand and the formula could be exactly the same as another more affordable brand. And it just comes down to packaging or marketing costs, which you're not getting in the product. So it's like, why purchase that then?
Yeah, I understand that.
But a lot of times it comes in the more budget-friendly products. If you look at the formulation, and this is not a knock on the formulation, it's just a simpler formulation.
Right.
It tends to be a little bit more straightforward. Maybe the delivery system isn't as efficacious or luxurious. So a lot can be in there. And sometimes too, a lot comes down simply to volume.
Right.
You know, so a small budget company or a budget skincare company could be producing such high volume that they're able to have such low prices where a true smaller brand isn't. So they might be comparable, but they might just have a slightly higher price point.
Right.
And with anything, you're going to have some good budget products and some good high-end products and some crap budget products and some crap high-end products. And so it can get muddy trying to do the research yourself and look at the reviews and because with a lot of brands too that I'm even just curious about, not even for myself, but just from a business perspective, I'll look and I'll be like, oh, this product, all these products in this brand get a lot of great reviews. And I'll see like 2 other products in the same brand and the reviews aren't great. And I just think it's the nature of skin and the skincare industry and really everything in general. But no, it's interesting. It's interesting. And a lot of times ingredient lists can look exactly the same and be lined up exactly the same, but it can be very deceiving because, you know, water can be 70% of the ingredient list in one, and it can be 50% in the other, but everything else can be in the same order. But the percentage in the one that is 50% water is going to have essentially more of the, I don't want to say quote unquote good stuff, but it is, but you're not going to really know that by just looking at the formula. So sometimes it can seem like it's the same, but it's not. And so they might perform slightly comparable, but somebody of a certain age might want the one that has a little bit more of the good stuff in it, you know, to really help their skin. So no, it's a great conversation, but it can get a little bit confusing with, there's so many variables to why a budget product might be great and why it might not be so great.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's mainly about like the formulation that's behind it.
Yes, absolutely. It's always about formula. It truly is, because even now my labs know me. They will not tell me the ingredient list until I've tried out the product, because they don't want me to, because I still, even after everything I just told you and knowing the ingredient list and knowing I can't judge by the ingredient list, I will for sure get the ingredient list and be like, I don't like it. And then try it and then already have like a preconceived notion in my head. So they don't give it to me anymore. They make me try it and then they tell me, which I love, because it's been a lovely wake up for me and I found great surprises in that process.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that thing I was reading. You know, I'm sure you know about the SkinCeuticals vitamin C, that very high-end vitamin C product. And, you know, people always on the quest to like look for good vitamin C products because it's anti-aging, and they say like this product is like a replica of it because the ingredients are like the same. But again, maybe it's not as efficacious because the formula is different. Like I know SkinCeuticals has like patented their vitamin C, and it's, you know,
exactly, it's a patent. Yeah, no, exactly. And you're right, it could be comparable, but it might not be. There could be something, it could be not as stable. It could look the same but not give the same results. It's tricky. It's tricky. So trial and error, if you ever can, trial and error is always the best way with skincare, for sure.
And then I do want to ask, you know, on that question, because we were talking about high and low, and like where should we invest our money in skincare? Because obviously, like people want to get the best for their skin. So, you know, if you're investing in, like you say, your routine, like a double cleanse, serum, and like a moisturizer and some SPF, like where should we be putting our money?
So my knee-jerk reaction would be serum, because really, especially if you're, I'm going to say over the age of 28, and there's many different serums. When I say serum or serums, it could be a hydration serum, it could be a retinol serum, it could be an acid serum, it could be an antioxidant serum, vitamin C serum. But they're just going to be things that really help to lighten and brighten and fix and repair and even skin tone, and stimulate fibroblast cells. So I say that, but two, I always want to preface that with, make sure you're getting an SPF that you like. Because again, if your SPF isn't in check, so if for some reason the SPF you found you like is, you know, $65 US, that is outrageous, but then maybe spend the money there, because at the end of the day, that's truly going to be more important. So it's sort of like a little add-on. Yes, I would say serums, but that's if you found an SPF you like. If you haven't found an SPF you like, maybe try some of the higher end ones and maybe you'll find one that you really, really like. But with that being said, you don't need to go up that high to find a good SPF you like. I promise you, there's many out there at a fraction of that cost that work, but just make sure you have a good SPF that you like.
So, you know, when we're talking about serums for like over 28 people, like us, but what about, say, for younger students or younger dancers, younger people in general, like, is it still, you know, serums that they should be putting, you know, when they're investing in skincare or building a regime, or something different?
So younger, maybe like late teens, like 17, 18 to 28, like probably just a very good basic, like cleansing, moisturizing exfoliation, very simple. So yeah, maybe a good moisturizer, a good exfoliant, something like that. I would spend the money. It does not have to be super frivolous. Just a really great, straightforward routine. Again, still with the extra note of make sure you have your SPF in check for every age, I
feel like that should be you. If you ever branch into like clothing, that should be like your tagline, like always wear an SPF. And then but you got to get an SPF out in the market first.
Yes, I know. We're actually working on one. It's a really, really complicated process, and
I bet
I'm picky and a perfectionist, and that's making it even harder because
See, that's the ballet dancer side out of you coming out when you say picky and perfectionist. I'm like, yep.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, because you have a skincare line and you're also a facialist, you know, some people say that, you know, it's better to like just get product versus getting any facials, because people say, you know, facials is just a one-off thing. What can it really do for your skin? So where do you stand on that argument? Product,
always. I think if you're struggling with your skin and you can afford to, the best thing is to get one facial to at least start knowing exactly, you know, having somebody look at your skin to be like, this is your skin condition, this is your skin type, this is what I'd recommend for you. And then what you can afford from that and slightly add that in. So that is where I would go. And I actually have, not now anymore that it's more of a private practice, but in the beginning, I had a lot of people that were one-offs, but where I would help them was putting them on this great program and a great amount of recommended products. And then they would sort of be their own champion by finding the product and using it and then having great healthy skin. And then maybe they would come back once a year for a check-in or something. Separately, if you're dialed in and you're looking for more maintenance, and you have a great regimen, but you just want that extra help as you get older, facials are great for that. But if you're going between the two, your at-home regimen, which is going to be working for you 24/7, is going to be way better, even if you were getting a facial once a month, which is the max I would recommend. So the 24/7 at-home regimen is still going to always outweigh a facial treatment as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And then I think the last one I want to ask your opinion on is pimples, and should we pop them? And if not, what should we be doing?
The hardest question. Well, I mean, not the hardest question, but I know nobody listens to my answer. So, no, in reality, no, you shouldn't, because usually, done incorrectly, it will leave a large mark, dark spot left behind, almost like a scab. It can leave something called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which can be a dark spot, can be a light spot. And so it creates way more issues than it was initially. However, if you have a teeny little spot somewhere and you can see white in it and it's maybe come to a very visible head, you can get in the shower, let the steam help soften the skin, cleanse your face, make sure your hands are super clean, wrap your index fingers in like toilet paper or tissue or gauze, and then lightly press to get it out. That's if you really, really, really have to. I don't recommend that. And something you have to make sure is that you're truly seeing the head of the pimple, because
so like the white stuff.
Yes, if it's underground, you know, a lot of people have cystic pimples, which are those hard, painful nodules.
Right.
And people think that they can get something out of that. You cannot get something out of that. The infection started underneath and will heal underneath. It's never going to come up and out of the surface. And people will say like, well, but I picked at it and then something came up. You created another infection on top of it. So those you just truly need to leave alone. But the ones that you have a visible head and looks like it might be an easy extraction, you can absolutely try if you follow those steps. If you're good and you can leave it alone, that's even better.
And then what should we do to, you know, help get rid of it quicker if we're leaving it alone and we're being good and we're not popping things?
If you're leaving it alone, spot treatments are great, and nothing that's going to be super drying or dehydrating. There's some great benzoyl peroxide treatments. There's some great salicylic treatments. A lot of time I like using a clay mask with a little bit of sulfur in it. And putting that on because it helps to sort of draw out the impurities. Sulfur takes down the inflammation and the redness around it. And it doesn't help overnight, but even one treatment overnight, like putting a spot treatment on before you go to bed, you might notice like a 50% reduction in the spot itself. So that's a great way to help alleviate that. Absolutely.
And then I just have one last question for you, because this is called the Good Ballet Juju podcast, where we're talking about how people can help themselves, you know, to do something feel good for the ballet community. So I do want to ask you, like, what are you doing or what things do you do to help yourself feel good?
What do I do to help myself? Well, you know, right now it's been actually Zoom meetings because it's been a struggle. Because if I was asked that question a few months ago, it's always been to sort of let off steam going out to dinner with friends or going out to have a drink with friends. I'm not somebody that goes out to clubs and goes to a lot of parties, but I like a really intimate group of friends. Obviously, they're all former dancers, so it's talking about ballet, my business, art in general. We like really good wine. We like really good food. But to me, there's nothing better than that sense of community. And that's something that I missed when I retired from the ballet company and having that sense of community and going to work on my own. Now I have obviously employees and partners, but so that's one of the best things. So right now it's more of like a Zoom connection and talking to family and friends on Zoom. Those are my feel good moments.
Oh yeah, I think that's something that we can never underestimate, the importance of its community and human connections.
Absolutely.
And like said, where can people find your products? On your website?
Yes, website. Yep, jordansamuelskin.com, and then on coltbeauty.co.uk as well.
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you on DM. I was like waiting for your products to be available worldwide, and then when they were on Cult Beauty, I was like, I want to get that cleanser, and I was like, that cleanser is sold out.
Oh, I know. Sorry, we've had so.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's a good thing.
We've been having trouble with stock, though. I mean, in a way that like they've been selling out quicker than we thought they would, and that we thought Cult Beauty also thought they would. So it was a shock, and we're still catching up on back inventory to make sure we can keep them fully stocked. So we'll get there eventually, but yeah.
Oh wait, well now I'm gonna slip in one last question then, which is that if somebody's looking to like, you know, try out your products, like what's the one, I don't want to say hero product, but maybe like what's the one like product you would say try this, because I think it's really good.
I would go to Hydrate Facial Serum just because, not knowing the person's skin, that's a product that can work for everybody's skin. So whether you're dry and dehydrated or whether you're oily and acne prone or sensitive, it can work for everybody. And it is our #1 selling product. So Hydrate Facial Serum is probably where I would start.
Brilliant. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. It was very lovely.
Thank you, Min. It was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really enjoyed myself and had fun with this. And like, thank you for sharing all your knowledge with me.